I might as well just make a statement to you lot then in that case, which is that I want to be able to get my message across. It's so important that something's got to happen this year, or else we're too late.
Vivienne?
Yeah?
I can't believe I'm sitting with you. I've known you since I'm 16 years old. It's amazing. It's a blessing to be sitting with you.
It is, Naomi.
I just remember you took us to, I think Kate might have been with me actually. We went to tea with you at Criterion because we were hustling you to let us in the archives. I remember that was it, yeah. And off we went to tea, and then you sat us down and gave us a talking to about, you know, being conscious in the world. That had a big impact on me. Because I mean, it was about around the time that I started working with Nelson Mandela in South Africa, so it was all new to me still. You know, they all have these posh words for it now, like philanthropy, and for me it was just like, you do it because you want to do it.
I mean, in those days, my activism was about human rights mostly.
Yeah.
I mean, my generation was politicised by the hippies, and punk was a reaction against the fact that the people who'd caused the Vietnam War were still running the world. And it was like, we are not going to accept any of your taboos or your values at all. All activists, you, everybody, we're all driven by the same motive. We cannot stand human suffering. We can't stand the mismanagement of the world. That, you know, the people in power are just, well, right now we suffer climate change, the end of civilization and the extinction of the human race. It's the rotten financial system that's the cause of the whole thing. It takes money from the poor and gives it to the rich. That's essentially what it's all about. And therefore you've got this incredible gap, and it creates climate change because it's raping the earth, and it creates poverty. And so the thing is that I think politicians are criminals because poverty causes crime. And in fact, if
that's very true. Unemployment causes crime. Lack of education causes crime.
Homelessness is a crime.
Homelessness causes crime. When did you stop referring to yourself as a designer and only as an activist?
I guess I never stopped referring to myself as a designer. I don't know. It's just that most of my designs at the moment require these graphics all the time, you know, because I'm an activist. And so, no, I'm a fashion designer and an activist. And this is my career, and each help the other. And it's very, very important to look great if you want to make a point, because then people, I think, will listen to you more, you know? Look, I'll just talk about Edward, because Edward is why we're here talking to each other. I showed him something. I showed him that I'd made these cards. Because I'm an activist and I'd done so many graphics, I thought I'm going to put them on a set of playing cards. And I did. And I looked at it and I realised that if you connect the dots of all these 50-something cards, then you have a complete strategy, dot by dot, of how to save the world, honestly. I had one card that said, what's good for the economy is good for the planet. And so I made another card which said, what's bad for the economy is bad for the planet, because this is true. And by that, and just looking at a few more dots, I realised that the problem was rot dollar. That's what that rot dollar's about there. The crash is going to happen in 10 years, whether there would be climate change or not, because it's bring on the debt, let's increase the debt, we're just living on debt. Trump, bring it on, more debt, richer we get. Can't go on forever, it's going to crash in 10 years.
We are definitely in a very serious global warming, climate change disaster.
Yeah.
And it's like they're coming consistently, like, we used to hear of things when we were younger, but it was like maybe once a year there'd be something.
Yeah.
It's like every month or twice a month in some part of the world that innocent people are suffering from a natural disaster. What can people do out there to play their part in saving this planet?
I want to say the first thing is that Edward did the right thing because he put me and you together. That's something people can do. They can talk to people and get people to join in the conversation. It's not enough, Naomi, to just live the life you've got already. You've got to stick to the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. That's the last thing you should be doing.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Yeah, and so that's it. So you reduce the clothes you're buying. You buy quality, not quantity. Make sure you want to keep on wearing it. Go to work in an evening dress if you want. At the same time, we need to get the government to say that public transport is free. That needs to go together with it. Nobody in London needs a car. It's not helpful to community at all. Community is completely broken down. The only person who needs a car really in London is a taxi. I'm talking about we have to be really serious, radical change. By the end of this century, there'll only be 1 billion people left. And this map is a reflection of that. That's what it would be with only 1 billion people left. That's red is uninhabitable. I put on top of this bag, I put my old slogan from Let It Rock: too fast to live, too young to die. The earth's too fast to live, it's using everything up, and it's too young to die. That's my pamphlet telling you all about this. This is me when I'm 4 years old, and it says buy less, and that's what I'm wearing now. It's buy less is my t-shirt.
Love it.
Yeah.
But talking about culture, how do you see the culture that from the 80s till now, through the 90s, how do you feel that young people are today?
I want to start with Greta Thunberg because she's got Asperger's, and the reason she is doing what she's doing is that she could not understand why, when she learnt about climate change and the fact that the house is on fire, why she couldn't understand why her parents hadn't told her, or why nobody was doing anything. And so she said, if I didn't have Asperger's, I would have joined a committee, but I didn't. It's all I had. And so I went and I sat down and I protested. And then she's just become the world hero. What she's done, she's made everybody in the world, well, not perhaps everybody, but everything is changing. It's all ramped up. Passion is ramped up. People are beginning to think, I've got to be responsible. I've got to do something. She's doing a wonderful job all over. People say, have you talked to me? I don't need to talk to her. Everything she says is perfect. She just says, listen to the scientists.
I mean, it's incredible what she's doing. I agree with you.
Yeah. And she's made a world of difference.
But it's incredible what you're doing. You've been doing this for as long as I've known you.
And that's why I think when you said to me, Vivienne, you will get support, I think that's why I will get support. I think the things are, the passion is ramping.
We all know that when you get behind something and you're passionate about it.
Well, I don't know. I've been trying for a long time, Naomi, to get my
message
message
but you've been
across.
saying this for how long, and no one really may have taken it seriously, but now they are. We don't know how much time there is left, really, do we?
It could happen. The tipping point could happen tomorrow.
Nobody knows.
The tipping point could happen tomorrow. And once it happens, it's inevitable.
That's when everybody's getting to scurry.
Obviously, young people are always more idealistic than more cynical older people. And therefore, they have passion to try to do things. And I think that's great.
But let me ask you something easy. Do you remember the first time we met? When was the first time?
I think we met when you came to do the show where you had the painted smock. But no, isn't it then?
No, Vivienne, I fell down before that show. I did one of your shows in London, and then you moved to Paris.
Okay.
You hadn't moved to Paris yet.
Because
I remember it was a big deal that Vivienne Westwood's leaving London. Because you all left. John left, you left, everyone was leaving. When you left, it was like, oh, London doesn't support their artists and their designers. I remember that whole thing.
They didn't. It took me years to get the Designer of the Year award.
The recognition that you truly deserve.
But do you know how I got it? Because all the other designers said, you're trying to give us this award for the second time, and you haven't even given it to Vivienne yet.
So they spoke up for you?
Yeah. They said, we're not accepting it.
Yeah, it was a sad state of affairs, our fashion world at that time.
In those days, people, the British Fashion Council hardly existed. I don't think it did exist at all. And London did not support its designers.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
When I fell down,
Yeah.
were you worried?
Well, you were all right, Naomi. You were all right. And I know you were kind of issuing bravado, really. I think you were annoyed and a bit hurt and worried.
I was embarrassed.
Yeah, well, was that what it was?
I was
Your
embarrassed.
pride.
I was
That's it,
embarrassed
yeah,
because, and also it was like not the right time of the month for a woman to fall. And I felt like I should have practiced more. And that comes from my training of dance, that I should have practiced more. Because I know how to walk in your shoes now. There's a trick to walking in your shoes.
Let me tell you, stop. The reason you fell is because you had these rubber tights.
Yes,
And your thighs caught together, and so you wiggled on the shoe, and you only got to wiggle slightly, and you're over.
I know, but when I tell people they were rubber tights, they're like, what? I said, I was wearing rubber tights.
Yeah.
But
They look amazing.
I also feel, though, that I did put too much weight on the front, on my heel.
On the back, yeah.
On the
You have to
heel.
keep it on
And
the
I should have walked more with the heel, the tip toe on my tippy toe a bit more.
Yeah.
And I realized that after. But the most important thing is that I said to myself, get up and keep going. That's all you have to do. Get up and keep going.
Anyway, I'll tell you what also happened is that I went backstage immediately after you got off the catwalk. Or perhaps I was backstage, but I went to you immediately, and you were lying on the floor between the rails, and you said, Vivienne, I'm going back on that catwalk now, but if I fall down again, I am not getting up, and you come and get me if I fall down again. and then we gave you a stick.
Yes!
And you did not use the stick. You went down the catwalk with a stick like this instead, just to show that you could not fall. Yeah, okay.
I remember the next day, Linda was driving a little convertible Mini, I think, and we were all in a Volkswagen Panda, and we were all in there. It was red. We were Yasmin and Kate and Christy, all piled in, and we'd gone to W.H. Smith in Paris and bought the British papers, and we were just howling because they had step one, they had them like planned out. Here she's up, now she's not. Oh, she's down, da, da, da. And we were howling, and I was just like. But then, you know what was really
beautiful when you fell. It was like a gazelle fall, and it was fantastic.
But did I ever tell you this? I don't know if I told you this. Afterwards, I'm not going to say who, there's a couple of people, designers, asked me if I would fall for them.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. Really?
And I was like,
my
why
God.
would you want me to fall unnecessarily?
Why? Yeah.
Press!
Yes,
the
I know.
press that you got.
I know,
but it wasn't planned. That happened because it happened.
Yeah.
And they thought that was like, I don't know what they thought, and they asked me if I would do it, and I said, absolutely not. It goes against everything that I stand for.
Yeah.
I'm not falling purposely. If it's an accident, and I had many accidents on the runway, top fell down, skirt fell off, or slipped off, or whatever. But not to fall down to deliberately. No, I'm not doing that. So I refused.
I don't understand why they will do that, because that would make them somehow, for me, feel like we're a second-class designer. We have to take an idea from somewhere else. I was quite poor even in those days, and I didn't pay any of you very much, so you can take it for granted that I didn't pay you to fall down because I wouldn't have had the money. But yeah.
But that's even more so, that's a testament to you. You're a special person in the sense of that's who you are. Like, why change and conform? That's who you are. You've stuck true to who you are, and everyone knows that and loves that. And that's why these other designers will defend and say she deserves this award, because it's true.
Yeah, but do remember that what I said, that punk, also this was my motive. It was to make the world a better place and to stop suffering. You know, a little baby born and he's just born sky high, or somebody, you know, who's just suffer so much they don't have any chance to recognise their potential, they don't self-educate, they don't know how to do that.
I never felt any fear from when I would see the punks. I just knew they were kind. I would see how they would take pictures with all the tourists. They were a monument of King's Road. I mean, when they were not there anymore, it was very strange. What's happened to them? I think it was the 137 I used to go home on to get to Streatham.
Yeah.
And I'd change in Oxford Street and we'd go by Sloane Street and I'd see all the punks with the hair and it was like, oh my God. You know, the first time I ever saw one, it was a big deal because it was like the spikes and everything. And to then know, to meet you, and even to meet Malcolm, I was just like, I can't believe it. It's like, it's legendary.
You didn't see the King's Road when the hippies were around. That
No.
was incredible. Oh, God, yeah.
Missed that one.
On a Saturday, you know, driving down in this big car, all painted with zebra stripes, and, oh, it was amazing. Mr. Freedom and...
Mr. Freedom.
Oh, it was great. That was my first discovery. I dressed like a space princess in those days. It was amazing.
I'd love to see
That's
those
when I got my
pictures.
spiky hair together, even then.
So you had it then?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, also I want to say thank you because you've always been so supportive to everything I've done with Fashion for Relief,
wow.
and including being on the runway. You walked the runway. Do you remember you, Andres, and
Yes.
Tracy Emin? If I don't see you, I know that your support's there, and your love for me and my love for you is there. It's just,
Yes.
there's no words and loss or time that comes between.
You are so sweet and kind, and I haven't seen you for ages, and it's just so lovely.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Vivienne. That was amazing.
Oh, yes,
Such
I agree.
special
I agree. I enjoyed
time with
myself
you.
so much.
Thank you so much. Mwah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I really...
That was so nice.
God, what a thing that you live in the world. It's incredible.